well, the street clearly is very excited about this one, but any, estimates that you have penciled in as to what the box office collections can be of Pushpa 2.0?
I think in terms of Pushpa 2, it's going to be a very strong opening. This is a very large franchise film, with a very strong recall value. Pushpa 1 had done, collections of somewhere close to about 400 crores net box office across genres. And it was a mega blockbuster and a super hit. So because of the entire franchise recall, the opening is going to be extremely strong. I think we should see numbers of anywhere between 150 to 160 crores of net box office revenue on the first day, and potentially the weekend net box office revenue across genres, which is the dubbed and the Hindi version, could be almost about 450, 500 crores. And in terms of lifetime, the movie could do anywhere between 900 to 1,000 crores of net box office on domestic. So clearly, I think, a lot of buzz for Pushpa. And this is going to be a big respite for exhibitors in terms of occupancy levels in the month of December.
Right. Karan, we've seen a good theatre release, in fact, a series of them over the past couple of months. Do you believe that we could see a resurgence in the footfall back to pre-COVID levels, or do you still think that OTT is going to steal the show?
So, we think that, OTT platform, the entire threat around that is very much here to stay. I think, 10 to 15% of the occupancy levels is the reason in terms of the OTT impact which is there, which may never come back on a consistent basis. So on certain quarters, we may see that occupancy levels are going back to pre-COVID levels, but on a consistent basis, on an annualized basis, occupancy levels coming back to pre-COVID levels or rather moving ahead of pre-COVID levels is a challenge because of OTT. So I think OTT risk is very much there in terms of the valuations, in terms of performance, and in terms of our estimates as far as growth is concerned. The bigger KTA we heard is that large budget films need to do well on a consistent basis, because the dependence on large budget films is very high, for the exhibitors. And if you look at the recent past as well, I think the month of October was quite muted. November, we saw some respite because of Diwali releases. Both the films did reasonably well. They were not blockbusters, but they were above average performances, and they garnered about 500 crores of net box office. So clearly, I think large budget films need to click well on a consistent basis if occupancy levels need to go back to pre-COVID levels on a consistent basis. I think for occupancy levels to move beyond pre-COVID levels is a tough ask for now, because I think small, medium budget films are not doing well on a consistent basis. A lot of content is there in terms of variety for the audience to watch on OTT, which was not there in the pre-COVID times. So I think on a consistent basis, in a best case scenario, we could end up at occupancy levels of 28-30%, which is about 10 to 15% lower versus pre-COVID level on an annualized basis.
Yeah, not sure if that 28-30% kind of occupancy level is good enough for a stock like PVR. What's the recommendation then?
So, in terms of target price, we have a target price of 1950 for the stock, and we believe that clearly valuations comfort is very much there. If you look at the valuations on a EV/EBITDA basis, on pre-index EV/EBITDA rather, so I think the valuations are somewhere around 10 to 11 times, and historically this company has traded in a band of 13 to 14 times. So I think there is a reasonable amount of potential upside of 20-25% over the near term. But clearly why this is not happening is because the performance has been volatile over the last 3 to 6 months. CY23 rather was a very strong year in terms of films. We saw Gadar 2, we saw Pathan, we saw Oh My God, and we saw Ranbir Kapoor's Animal, which did well. This year, categorically, Hindi films, have not done well in terms of large budget movies. The number of films are, slightly lesser as compared to what they were last year, in terms of the number of films doing well. And Hollywood content has been a major setback. So I think going ahead, two trends are going to emerge. We will see a lot of catch up, of large Hindi films, next year in CY25. A lot of the large stars like, Ranbir Kapoor, Ranveer Singh didn't have too many films this year in CY24. So CY25 will see release of large star budget films which are there in Hindi genre, which will show some kind of respite. And also the Hollywood Writer Association strike has led to a consistent delay in terms of large English releases. And English genre contributes about 20% of the box office revenue for PVR Inox. So I think CY25 will see respite because of franchise, Hindi films, which are, sequels and other things put together. And the Hollywood side, you'll see multiple large scale films releasing as well. So these are some tailwinds which will probably help, occupancy levels breach towards that 29-30% mark on a consistent basis.